Okay, let's take a look at the Hybrido waterline emitter. This is based on a foam emitter with the same properties. And we recommend you put the grid fluid domain in cache mode so that the simulation will be faster. We don't recommend that you use force demons. Of course, you need to indicate which objects will be included with the waterline emitter, and the emission rate will indicate the number of times per second that the wet particles will be created. The width parameter will indicate the radius around the objects, and the object resolution will indicate how the particles will be adjusted to the objects. Moving on to the splash and foam and wet and foam emitters, combining these two elements for calculations will actually save you significant disk space. And the generation will be a lot faster than if you do it in 2 steps. Since, of course, the intermediate calculations to allow for possible variations and the original splashes will be omitted, so this skips any linking on the foam elements. And, of course, any unwanted explosions. The two elements, splash foam and wet foam, which you can see here, and these will have their parameters combined into a single node. And they will have just the same behavior as their individual counterparts. They will even be output as 2 individual caches, one for splash wet and another one for foam, as you can see here. Taking a look at secondary splashes in Hybrido, you can now decide exactly how smoothly splashes and wet nodes can transition between states, like returning to the main body of the water and becoming foam. Secondary splashes can also be fine-tuned in terms of how much they bounce on the surface. And you can change how small the particles have to be before becoming foam particles. So by adding secondary splashes, you'll get a smoother transition to foam and a higher number of foam particles for greater realism. Turning now to Hybrido particle sampling. The quantity of particles in a GFD can be defined by the resolution parameter. And then particle sampling will indicate how many particles per cell. Particles are created in the GFD based on the resolution and, of course, the particle sampling values. Increasing the particle sampling value will introduce more particles per cell. Do bear in mind that you'll need to increase the resolution to make the particles better adjusted to the geometry. Increasing the particle sampling parameter will enable you to add a large quantity of particles quickly, and the new particle sampling parameter will give you more detail. Turning to Hybrido PRT format export, RealFlow can now export in the Krakatoa PRT file format. Position, velocity, vorticity, and ID channels can now all be exported. Thanks very much for joining us.